Well, my baby, she done left me alone. Said I was a no good and head out on the road. She ain't gonna see me cry, ain't gonna see me shed no tear, mama, no. Why would I cry? I got 6 more waiting on that telephone. That operator praises me, he praises my name. He's been working overtime since you went away. He's got kids to feed, his bills to do. Thanks to you, he's getting...
What's up? Oh man. I kind of feel like when I'm on here, I almost feel like it's a radio broadcast. It's got a weird kind of radio broadcast feel to it. Like I feel like a really cheesy DJ. Like, hey guys, thanks for checking in on WABC. I got the little background music going. Anyway, very interesting week. Yesterday, I ended up going to, there was a convention at the Gaylord Conference Center in Grapevine, Texas. The place is massive. If anybody's ever been to the Gaylord Opryland in Nashville, Tennessee, it's kind of a similar. There's a few of them, and there's one in San Antonio, I think. And I got the chance to go there. I didn't go to the conference that was there. The conference was actually for Neighborly, and I got to meet the CEO of Smart AC. What an unassuming guy that is. His name's Josh. I mean, brilliant. I got to meet this guy, and he was absolutely brilliant. Thought he was just super smart. He's got a lot of things cooking. And so the reason why I was there, and many of you may have seen the post that I had, but I did a recorded interview. I did not go live. I did a recorded interview with Ken Goodrich, founder of Gettle and a million other things. And so he took the time out. We did actually, he said his assistant initially said, hey, I can only do about 20 minutes. And I'm like, that's not kind of the format of this podcast. Like, we need to hear a story for 20 minutes is not going to cut it. We ended up going about, we kept going. In fact, probably had I not wrapped up, it would have been longer, but he did almost like an hour. And it got really human, and I'm really excited to edit it and then put it out and like everybody watch it. And I think everybody's going to really enjoy it. And I saw a side of Ken that I never saw before. It's very sort of human element, which I love that this podcast has really brought out in our journey in the sales service field. So good. That being the case, today I have a very interesting guest. I'll bring him on here. His name is Kevin Hill. Kevin works for CEO Warrior. For those people, like when I first saw the name CEO Warrior, right? And I know the genesis of the company because Micah Gugliaro started it, and I had Micah Gugliaro on a few weeks ago. What if somebody was trying to ask you, like, bro, Kevin, what in the world does it even mean? Like, what is CEO Warrior? Nobody knows, right? But here's the key, Kevin. Try to make it so that it's like the most non-commercial thing in the world, right? So here's go ahead. Ready? 1, 2, 3, go.
So what does CEO Warrior mean? Awesome question. Look, we're a bunch of guys and girls that were in the field, we're in the business, that are now trying to serve at the highest level and coach. And it's very, like you mentioned, unassuming, right? We're a bunch of people with a lot of experience from service, leadership, all across the board. And we're there. I mean, the warrior part is certainly part of our entire culture, right? I mean, our tagline is you're either average or you're a warrior. Like, we live and die by that. And I'm glad you mentioned Mike. Yeah, Mike is our founder, man. And if you know Mike, you know warrior is in his spirit. And we just try and carry that sword a little bit, carry that flame. Now
it's just home service businesses, or you branched out to other industries?
No, we pretty much stay right in home services. Your traditional and then some, right? Your traditional 3, electrical, plumbing, and HVAC. And then we certainly have others. We have elevator companies, garage companies, all across the board. But it's pretty traditional to the major 3.
Did you say elevator companies?
I do have an elevator company. Yeah.
You have elevator companies? And what about escalators? Or are you biased against
No,
escalators?
just elevators. No escalators, man.
You know, I got to tell you, that's kind of prejudice against escalator companies.
I'll take some flack for it. I understand.
So, Kevin, to give, I don't know, what do you give everybody a background on
Sure.
who you are?
So went to college upstate New York, graduated, went down.
Where'd you go?
SUNY Cortland.
SUNY Cortland.
Yes.
Right next to Ithaca.
Yes, the Cortica Jug was a big football game for years and years. Still goes on. Little plug to Cortland. Last year, Division III national champions. That's it. I'll leave it alone.
Nice.
I went to Cortland. Graduated quickly. Moved to Washington D.C. Spent a few years in government consulting, and then got into cigars and wine for a little while, which was pretty freaking awesome.
That is awesome.
Then got into staffing, and I worked in staffing for 17 years. Staffing, recruiting, headhunting. Owned my own company in that. Got out of that, invested in a food waste recycling company. Still to this day, one of my favorite jobs. Got paid to play in the dirt and haul stuff.
Tell me about this food waste recycling?
Yeah.
I want to hear this.
Food waste from restaurants. Harris Teeter was a big account of ours. Got that. They took all of their food waste, right? Uneaten burgers, trimmings from the meat department, all the veggies that got thrown out of the restaurant or a grocery store. We collected it, brought it to processing plants, and created compost. We then turned around, gave that compost to the restaurants, which were providing gave that to the farms, which were providing the restaurants with the veggies.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
Yeah, it's a total recycle thing. Great organization. Wound up leaving that company, and during my transition, ran into an awesome guy that owned a home services company, HVAC, and I think plumbing had started at that time, and a crawl space company doing crawl space remediation and encapsulation, and offered me a job as a sales manager, and wanted me, and quickly kind of went through that operations.
That was the company in South Carolina?
Yeah. Yep. CNC Myers in Charleston, South Carolina.
Encapsulation's a cool thing. I did insulation, air sealing, and encapsulation for some years in Jersey. That's a sneakily really good business.
Yeah, there's some pretty solid margins in that business if priced correctly.
Just a little break here. Mike Gugliaro's in the chat here. He says, "Great guy you have right there. Kevin is a smart guy. He always played full out." I like that. I play full out too, Mike.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Wonderful guy, Mike. He, yeah.
So you went into home services, became a manager over there, drove that business for a while. And then that was swooped up, and that you grew that business, swooped up, and now it's a part of a big group. Yep,
now it's part of a big private equity company. So,
but during that period of time, you were involved in CEO Warrior, and you sort of obviously bought in to the system, to the processes, to the philosophies, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Day one jumped into. I'm not afraid to even say this, man. My first event, I remember, just bawling tears doing an event with Mike and some of the other founders of CEO Warrior, and bawling tears doing an exercise, a mental exercise, and I remember it like it was yesterday, and it was 2016. So yeah, really bought into the processes, the standard operating procedures, the mentality, the mindset, all of it that really drove our success with our company.
Yeah. So for those people that are listening that haven't been a part of a trade group or a practice group or a mindset group for that matter, there is something magical that happens during these breakthroughs there is something about spending time, whether it's a classroom setting or whether it's around peers, and sort of buying into like a philosophy, or at least coming together. There's something cathartic about it. I actually did, I was a part of SGI, and I never forget, this is a really cool story. There was this roofer who was in the group with me. And this was years ago, before they rebranded and all this kind of stuff. I know you've seen this all the time at CEO Warrior, because I can tell by your videos the amount that people are bought in. In fact, I know that 2 people personally to me that belong to CEO Warrior, who this has happened to, and they truly have the utmost. I mean, they've had these same breakthroughs, but this guy, like, after, at the end of the conference, right, like, all these light bulbs are going off, all these things are happening, and this dude it's like 65 years old. And it was the first time wearing a pair of overall suspenders. Like, I mean, no, I'm not kidding you. Here was a guy who was a true roofer, right?
Yeah.
And he just, all of the light bulbs just went off, and he never realized it. And it's almost like, boom, all these lights go off, and you just feel this sense of, it's tough to even explain until you start becoming a part of something like that. I certainly miss it. I've been to some conferences recently. I'm currently not like involved in a practice group, but yeah. So Kevin, so you spent all these years in sales, right? I mean, all these years in building businesses. What's kind of some cool stuff you've experienced along the way there?
Yeah. So my sales journey was interesting. I was originally told by someone that doesn't matter that I was never going to be any good at sales. I was never going to sell anything.
Oh, wow.
That person is often in my breakthroughs, my mindset stuff, where I remember him telling me face to face that I wasn't going to amount to anything. And it was a true driver for me. I think I was maybe 25, 26 years old, right? Half my life ago. I remember him telling me, you weren't going to do it. And I think that's the moment I made my promise to myself that I was going to. And I was a study of sales and how to do sales. I think when I first started, I thought sales was more about me talking and kind of asking the question and then not allowing the answer to come, because I was ready to either ask my own question or talk to my person through what they should be saying to me. So it made me feel better. And I went for years like that, where I thought that sales was more me explaining why it's important to buy or service or product or whatever.
Yeah, it's more important. Shutting up is way more important.
Oh man, I wish I knew that 25 years ago when I started this journey. Then I'd probably be in a different spot in my life today. But I'm glad that I know it now, and I have the ability to either coach people or do it myself. So that was a big learning curve for me, was shutting up. I'm an Italian New Yorker, man. I talk with my hands and I talk.
Hey.
So, maybe somewhere out there, someone to recognize, the Italian New Yorker in me. But yeah, now I'm living in South Carolina. It's a little bit different.
So this guy tells you, by the way, I had a very similar situation. I ended up getting some, doing really well in sales in this industry. And over the years, I got plaques on the walls and awards and all this kind of stuff. And the funny part about it is that, like, I told this story today. My first manager told me, he was like, "You're never going to make it." He actually told me, what he told me, he said, "You're in the wrong business. Do you know that?" Screaming at me over the phone. He's like, you're in the wrong business. He hung up on me. And marched to his office the next day, and I said, I'm here. I'm going to make this work. And, it was kind of funny because 15 years later, I'm still in the same business 15 years later. Crazy.
Yep. Now, I changed businesses because I was in selling business to business in staffing services. But Yeah, I remember the time that I started a company and surpassed him in revenue and number of clients and people out on billing. And I remember knowing that because I made it my business to beat him. And that was pretty exciting for me.
Yeah. Did you ever staff for any weird positions? You said you're in staffing, right?
Yeah,
For years.
Yeah, as a division director for a large staffing company, I was on the IT side, so my stuff was relatively lame. But we had staffing for positions for things as like the people who go in and change out the toilet paper rolls at concerts in the things, what you're calling the porta potties. We staffed for that. Now, you want to talk about a hard sell, get people that they know their entire job or half their job is going to be in one of those stalls replacing toilet paper.
Mm.
And we didn't have a choice. This was a new contract. We wanted it. It was going to make the company money. So you found people to do that job. So, yeah, that's probably the hardest ones that we had to deal with.
What is the title of that position?
That's a great question. I think it was. I honestly
it's
think
rhetorical, Kevin. This is a rhetorical question. I just think we leave it out there. We'll ask everybody. We got like a bunch of people in the chat. Be like, all right, what's the name of that position?
I'm pretty sure we call the customer service to be nice, but yeah, I'd love to hear what other people would think about that position.
Yeah.
It was but that was probably the weirdest one. And then somehow miraculously went to things as high as, people working in high-level government clearances in Washington, D.C. So, yeah, big change.
Ooh, what was the coolest government job you ever hired for?
That I can speak about? Sure.
Ooh.
Yeah, how about that, huh? That's a little tidbit. People working business analysts at the Pentagon, which was pretty cool.
Business analyst at the Pentagon. Kevin, I'm going to give you a womp womp womp.
Yeah, well, that's the one I can tell you about. How's that?
I'm just kidding. It was a business analyst. We all know what that is. So S. Papavero says facilities manager. I like it. It almost sounds like
that is a good one. Yeah.
It's a good one. It almost it's almost like they gave themselves a really big it's a good title.
It is a good title. Yeah. Sandy's pretty smart.
So you went straight into management and home services. Did you run a lot of calls at all? Like on the road? Did you do a lot of ride-alongs and stuff like that?
I did a bunch of ride-alongs because when I got into home services, I didn't know the industry. I couldn't spell HVAC, right? Couldn't spell HVAC, and I got into the business.
Yeah, that's a lie. You just spelt it.
Yeah, well, now I can, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, when I got into it, I didn't know anything, and quite frankly, my biggest problem was I just assumed that the guys that worked there were going to respect me and allow me to lead them because I had this business thing.
Nope.
Look, I'm not saying I was correct. Like, lesson learned. They started, I think, respecting me when I decided that I didn't know jack. I didn't know a damn thing, and I needed them to help me learn about it so that I could turn around and help them potentially sell more of it.
Mm.
So that was a big lesson for me, man, because, I had just come off selling my second company, thought that it was, it was going to be great, good business, thought I was smarter than I really was, and just smacked in the face with a bunch of super smart HVAC techs, service experts, and plumbers.
Does CEO Warrior do trade-specific training as well? Or is it
like what you mean, like training for like technical training, doing
or even communication and technical training for the trade specifically, like if it's HVAC or plumbing or whatever? Does it have specific?
Absolutely, on the communication side, for sure.
Right, but not specific HVAC and talking about specific nuances of the system, et cetera, correct?
Yeah, we're not training anyone to turn a screwdriver.
Okay.
Did I miss your question?
No, I guess that makes sense. But so then wouldn't anybody be able to just be a part of the CEO Warrior and then have, get the training? I mean, because if it's agnostic at that point in time, if it doesn't matter, if it's ambiguous, whatever you want to call it, then what would it matter? I mean, that could be in any industry, and I could come and learn at CEO Warrior.
I mean, you're not far off. I just think our experience comes from if you take the advisor's experience, the people who do the training or the one-on-one advisement on a daily basis, our backgrounds from the home services industry, plumbing, HVAC, and electrical. And, we had, like I said, crawl space. We had a 2-day bath, wet area of a bath, replacement, acrylic.
Okay.
And we can talk about those things all day long. So, I mean, I think the reason why we haven't branched out to anyone can come talk to us is we want to be able to give the best value information, and where we have our experience is in the home services trades, the typical home services trades.
Yeah. So as it pertains to going out on the road, learning the business, and this is years ago, right? I mean, you spent, what was kind of the coolest interaction that you had? I'm curious as to like any sort of funny situations you got yourself into. I always kind of try to ask that.
So probably my funniest one, and it's funny, my wife would probably not want me to share this story, but
you did definitely share it now.
Yeah. So here we go. So Amy, if you're watching, here it comes. So I'm getting ready to go. One of my biggest meetings for that I was going to have for the recycling company, and I'm sitting at home, and unfortunately, I'm looking through this thing, and I'm seeing some gray. So I decided that I was going to literally darken it up so that the gray was gone. Well, I'm not great at directions when it comes to these things, so I put stuff in, I sit down, very light skinned, light hair, shouldn't take too long. 15 minutes later, when I remember that I had that stuff in my face, I decide, and I have to be Charleston, South Carolina to basically Charlotte, North Carolina that same afternoon. I look up and I'm like, oh, damn, I got to take this off. Well, I go to shave it off, doesn't wash off, shave it off. Now it looks like I took a marker, right? Like a magic marker, and paint it in. And I had full, like, mustache, full goatee. Now it's just too great for me to do the whole thing. And painted it all in. So I looked like I had colored it in with a magic marker. I have to go meet some directors of a very large grocery store outside of Charlotte, North Carolina. And I'm doing my entire meeting like this.
Wow.
Because it looks like I put mascara or black magic marker to paint in what I couldn't. So, yeah, that's probably my most embarrassing sales story that I have.
Wow.
Yeah. Did I make up for the bad thing when it came to what I could share about what my highest level top secret person?
Dude, that might take the cake on the weird that's like.
Yeah. Well, you asked me to be honest, right? That's
right. But think about that for a second. I'm thinking like I'm in that meeting, right? And I'm thinking to myself, at some point in time, they had to have seen my face, right?
Oh, yeah.
So was it? So I'm curious. Okay, so you left the facial hair there, right?
No, I shaved it off, and now I had what looked like.
Oh my gosh! Yeah.
Like,
wow, that's
like if you couldn't do it and you wanted it for Halloween. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. So what did we learn? Actually, what's the best lesson you've learned over the period of time that you've been doing what you do? What's the number one lesson that you've learned?
In sales?
Yeah. In your experiences.
Less and more. If I could just do that, I would have been way more successful. Ask better questions.
What do you mean? So,
I learned from a very smart person in my career, a person who's still a mentor of mine. The theory of asking better questions. If you don't have a good answer or a good grasp on the solution or the situation that you're dealing with, just ask more, better questions until you get the information that you need in order to make a really good judgment, solution, create an option for a customer, even deal with leadership. So, asking better questions and listening versus talking, where if I learned those things earlier on in life, man, totally different.
Yeah, that's interesting. Go on. What do you mean by that? Oh, that's it.
So,
Wait.
yeah, it's great. That's a good job, man.
Hey, Kevin, can you go into that a little bit more? What do you
Sure,
mean
tell
by
me
that?
more. That's a great little transition.
You know, this is not so it's funny. Okay. So I have been just talking to different people and companies recently, and this actually came up today, and it was like in talking about active listening and talking about, you know, oh, well, what's your, you know, tell me about your sales process. And I say, listen, the first 3 steps of my sales process, okay, are shutting up, and shutting up. And a lot of people think, because I run a podcast here. People that know me, I've trained in the field, and they know I talk a lot, you know, but active listening, really hearing what people are saying to you, is so freaking important. And like, you know, the name of this podcast is Sales Tales. And I'll tell anybody that's involved in sales listening to this, dude, you gotta listen to what people are telling you.
100% correct.
You gotta listen.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think as salespeople, like I said, when an early lesson that I learned, and I wish I learned it sooner, is we want to talk because we're good at it. We're good at speaking, or we think we are. And we just keep on talking, assuming that we're going to get to the end of the conversation and it's going to be, you know, I think some of my sales when I was younger, people just said, okay, just so I'd shut up. Just so I'd stop talking. Here, where do I sign, man? Just stop talking. So, you know, but yeah, when I know I got better with solutions, at least when I learned how to active listen.
Comes with maturity too. I think that, and I think that one of the things that happens also as you get more experience under your belt, you gain more command of your situations, and you can assume a little bit more authority, because, you know, and so people listen to, you know, points of authority. So I think that becomes a strength.
And I think, you know, like you just said, I mean, confidence comes with success a little bit. So if you have some success in sales and you can repeat it and you know what you did well, you know, the other side of being, you know, be quiet when you're doing sales is, I think, man, looking back and evaluating how each call went is super important.
I call those post-call autopsies.
Yeah, it's a great way to put that. Yeah.
Yeah, autopsies. I want to uncover it. In fact, when I train, I tell people about that. The most you'll ever learn is the dissection of the sales call after the call is over, and then you share information with other reps, and you get ideas about, hey, what could I have done differently? Where did you fail? What happened? Interestingly enough, I knew somebody that went to law school at Yale, and they said that for I think it's 3 years of law school, they said for 2.5 years, it's all philosophical. Mm-hmm. They sit in a classroom and all they do is just poke and prod and ask questions of each other and find out different things, like, oh, well, what about in this situation? What about this situation? And then they reference the law books and they're like, oh, well, and so it just gets the ideas out, which I think is really the main purpose of college, is to have some sort of center point where you can kind of share ideas. On this topic though, of, you know, learning post-call autopsies, or you call, you know, rundowns, what are you seeing right now as like a major trend, maybe a dangerous trend in the industry right now, in your experience? Because you guys have how many members? How many? A couple?
Several hundred.
Yeah, it's a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you have 700 business members, and
Everett, I think you cut out.
I did. Sorry. So that comes down to a couple thousand people that are engaged in the organization. So you get the chance to really speak to people. What's the word on the street? People are nervous. People are scared.
Yeah.
Listen, it's crazy to me too, because like there's so many people that are, you know, waiting in the wings, and there's, you know, wait till after the election, all this kind of stuff. So what are you hearing? What's the word on the street?
So you're not wrong. Hearing all the same things, you know, want to wait till after the election. Okay.
Like, what's going to change? Like,
Yeah, I
maybe
don't know
stuff
what's
will
gonna
change, but it's not, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, to me personally, I don't care which side of the fence you're on. It's just one blaming the other for how bad or good things are. So, to me, I think I got numb to politics living in DC as long as I did.
Yeah.
The fact of the matter is, we're hearing the election, we're hearing the economy, we're hearing things. Most of it has to do with why a customer is not just where do I sign, right? And we're coming off a time when it was relatively easy to sell. When we had a pandemic and people got that self-worth or self-assurance that they were really good at their jobs, and that's now coming to fruition a little bit, right? You're starting to see some of those folks that did really well 3-4 years ago are not doing as great. I think the biggest thing that we keep seeing, and we've done several exercises with this, is value propositions are so tricky right now, because your unique brand promise or unique value proposition, what I do different, what you do different, that separates you out, unless you're going to race to the bottom with price, which I never suggest doing because you're devaluing. You got to have a value proposition. You have to have a perceived value higher than the price of whatever you're trying to sell or option you're doing. So for me, when I do these exercises and ask people, what's your unique value promise? What's your unique brand promise? And it's always the same 4 freaking things. So you're not unique, because there is no uniqueness in unique brand promise anymore. The only uniqueness is me. The experience that I show when I show up at the house, the rapport that I build, the ability for me to make that person feel comfortable, have a return on their investment, all those things, that's all about me or the salesperson. Because everyone's going to talk about their reviews. Everyone's going to talk about being local. Everyone's going to talk about either PE backed, so you're good money, or a local, family owned.
Kevin, on that point, it's you're ringing so true. I actually, this was a couple of years ago. I went to a conference, and the keynote speaker went up and goes to everybody, right? Like, and think about this. He goes, "Hey guys, how many of you guys background drug test, all your employees?" And like, everybody raised their hand. How many of you guys offer high quality service? And everybody raised their hand. There's a room of 900 contractors.
Yeah.
Oh, how many of you out here offer good warranties and guarantees? Like, oh, I do. Like,
yeah.
Dude,
yeah.
you all bought into the same stuff. Like,
yeah.
Now you're right, Kevin. You got to differentiate yourself. It has to be you. It has to be you. People do business with people. People do business with people. And also, here's my other thing. And on exactly what you're saying. And if I think there's people out there that are, there's, everything's blah, blah, blah with the election. Be amazing. You have to be amazing. You have to give amazing service, and you have to be amazing. Like, you have to separate yourself to a point, and it's got to be checking all the boxes. I don't think you can just check like one box right now. Well, and not to mention the fact that people's attention spans are so small right now, right? They're sitting in front of a screen all day long, right? And what do you think, Kevin? You think the human element's going to win out? Because I do.
Absolutely. 100%. I think that people are going to buy on the experience that you create. And that starts with you. And it ends with you. I mean, it's all about you walking in. And the conference that you did, the stuff that we do in some of our trainings, same exact scenario. Everybody stand up. Write three things down that's unique about your company. All everyone stand up. When you hear it, sit down. Room full of a large amount of people are all sitting down in minutes, because there's no uniqueness to it. You're unique. You're the one that creates the experience, and you're the reason why someone's going to buy.
I like that line you just said. It starts with you. It ends with you. That's actually a really good nugget I'm going to keep with me.
Oh, it's all yours, man.
I'm going to use it. I'm going to use it everywhere I go. Hey, guess what, buddy? Starts with you. It ends with you. It's so true. Yeah. Interestingly enough, so I had an interview last week with Tommy Mello. Obviously, most people know who Tommy Mello is. One of the things he brought up was he's like, look, you're right. Okay, you got the election, you got this, you got that. Well, you know what, man? You don't have any control over that.
Right.
Those things are out of your control. So, sitting here and not business planning or not looking to the future, I'll tell you what, the smartest companies right now are probably the ones that are going to look at look at their staffing, look at their workforce, look at their training, and go, what can I get on the cheap right now? What can I value add that no one else is doing that I can add now to my business?
Absolutely.
S. Papavero, don't know whoever you are, I love your name, Papavero. He says more the reason to learn the skill that will help businesses stand out and create their own economy. When everyone else is pulling back, it's time to forge ahead. I love that. And then Justin Dawson says, exactly, stop waiting and start acting. I know exactly how much money someone is going to make if they don't start. Zero.
Yeah, that's a great point. 100%, yeah.
Yeah. Kevin, what does CEO warrior do? Again, and this is really me poking and prodding. Like,
yeah, sure.
What is the value? What does CEO warrior do in this situation? What do they train their members? How do they train their members to be different then? If you're saying like everybody's, I mean, you're right. I mean, I'm saying the same thing. All these companies out there, they're all trying to do exactly the same stuff. There's no differentiating factor half the time, right? So it's really easy for a customer actually to go, you know what, I'm just going to do this on price.
Exactly. And how do we kind of, let's call it train against that is, again, create a really good experience in the home where that customer trusts you. They think of you as providing really good options, return on an investment. If they're going to part with their money, there should be a way that you can explain to them, be an authority in the home. So these are all the things that we talk about when people come to either us or I talk to people. I don't care if they're members of CEO Warrior. I want great things for anyone that's in the home and home services. But when people ask me this question, it's the same thing. Just create an experience that you would want. I'm not saying that people only buy, like we used to hear this, right? People buy from those that they like. Well, that might be a little true. No one buys from anyone they hate. But, I recently went and bought a new car. I'll use this as a quick story. Bought a new car and, I'll take it from the other side. You asked me about one of my best experience. One of my worst customer experiences was this. The gentleman takes we're going to do at the Honda dealership, we're going to do a little ride. What do you do when you take the car out and drive it? Test drive. He takes out the back of the thing, says Elvis on the back of his license plate. Cool. I said, does that say Elvis? And as soon as I say it, I feel my wife grabbing onto my knee, and then I pay attention. He's got all these pictures of himself dressed up as an Elvis impersonator. And I thought, oh, crap, I'm going down a bad road. The guy asked me what my favorite Elvis song is. My wife's fingers are going deeper into my knee. And I told him. He breaks out into full song in the middle of the dealership. Needless to say, I bought a different car. I did not buy a Honda. That was the most embarrassing thing for me, for my wife. I'm assuming not for him. But he was trying to create an experience. I keep saying create an experience. He was trying to create an experience and bond with me in a way that just flopped.
Wow.
So
that's the strangest experience. In fact, that's a really cool sales tale.
Well,
where you didn't buy because the sales rep impersonated Elvis and sang full blast in the dealership.
And in case you want to know, it was Love Me Tender.
Bro, I have heard every story ever.
Yeah.
I mean, I've heard it all. That is the craziest shit I've ever heard.
Yep. Did not buy a Honda.
I've never heard that story. That's crazy to me.
Yeah. Hey, listen, Fred Anderson Honda in Greenville, South Carolina is an Elvis impersonator. Who knew?
Did he do that? Do you think that he did that with like other people? Do you think he did it all the time?
So his colleagues got excited and came around, not to back him up because that would have been even weirder. But so this obviously was not the first time he did this.
Do you think it was a gimmick, or it's just like kind of like, man, it happens sometimes, and we're going to go ahead and,
there's some phenomenal people out there that talk about being, there was success in car sales, right? I don't think that was ever taught to him. I think he was trying to 100% make a connection with me that was going to be unique, and it bombed.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So be careful. Ron Bartle asks, so what did you end up buying? But here's the thing about Ron Bartle that nobody knows. Ron Bartle is from Austria. So I'm going to say it as if I'm Ron Bartle. So what did you end up buying? Is that good, Ron? How's that, Ron? Ron's a big fisherman, by the way.
Well, Ron, I bought an Audi and love it.
There you go.
Yeah.
An Audi. He bought an Audi.
Yeah.
Isn't an Audi? Isn't that? Oh, it's German, right? It's
German,
not.
Yeah.
It's not from. Yeah.
Yeah. I went from a 01 Chevy Tahoe, and which I loved to death, to now I have 2 German cars in my driveway.
Yeah, I'm guessing your buying experience was quite a bit different.
Yeah. The Audi dealership didn't sing to me. I don't know if I should have been let down. If what I was expecting was a serenade. I didn't get any of that, but they treat you pretty well. I
think next time I go into a car dealership, I'm going to say, hey, I get a song, or I'm not buying a car.
Yeah. See what happens, man.
I got a 2-part question here.
Yeah.
So typically I ask a question, what's one experience with a customer that lives with you that was so profound that it just, you carry with you wherever you go? I'd be interested, because you work with a coaching and training organization that does, what's one experience you've had? I'll ask you first from CEO Warrior and coaching and training people and advising people. And then the other one is actually in the field. What's one situation you've had, one company owner or employee that you've dealt with, that experience that has lived with you?
Yeah, that is an incredibly humbling question. I'll do my best to find one. I could probably pick out a lot.
Are you tapping on the table there?
Yeah, sorry, man. Absolutely.
I'm like, what's happening? It invoked, at least the question invoked an emotion. And
100%.
Yeah.
100%. So, wow, this is so. Like I mentioned earlier, we get a lot of grown men breaking down and finding their, and women, it's not certainly men, and finding their inner issues. Probably my most profound to date is a client has multiple trades, and they came to us losing their business. They came to us very, very in the negative, red. And we were kind of a last-ditch effort, but they were willing to try and willing to implement and willing to work really, really hard with us. And that company, I'm not going to use their name because of the next statement I'm about to make. They were about to sell their organization, and they will walk away with generational wealth.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And so super, super proud, more humble to be part of that journey. Another organization.
How long was that process between going out of business and doing the right things and selling their organization?
Yeah, about 4.5 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
When we're talking generational wealth, you talking about tens of millions of dollars?
Yeah, their kids don't have to work if they don't want to.
Wow.
Yeah. Now they do. They will, because I know this family well, but they won't have to. And I think from the ability to affect people in that way and provide them with that, I mean, it's super humbling, man. Some people might make fun of me, and I have not looked at comments, so I don't really care if they do. Man, I don't know of a training that we don't get emotional at one point, myself included. Just from the fact of, I'm super blessed that I get to do what I do on a daily basis. I get to help people.
Everybody's making fun of you in the chat, by the way, Kevin, and they're saying, what a ridiculous statement that is. I can't believe what a ridiculous statement you made when you said that. No, it does make sense. It's good to get, listen, man, we all want to be, we're tough guys. We all want to be, right. I mean, we wear this armor and look, I'm all about that. Right. But at the end of the day, sometimes you need a breakthrough. Sometimes you need to open up the old mind and just like, let it out, let it go, you know? And I think sometimes it could be a really cathartic, or maybe it's a humbling experience. So I'm all about it. I've seen some of those videos of your guys, of what you guys do. I've seen some videos. It's pretty wild. I mean, I like that though.
Yeah, no, it's great to be, you know, it's a great place to be, where you get to have, you know, I've been fortunate. I've had some phenomenal mentors. Some of them were part of CEO Warrior when I was a member. And even more so now, some previous members that I still keep in touch with, that I talk to on a regular basis. The guy that owned the company I worked for years, talk to him on a regular basis. He's still considered a big mentor of mine. I have the ability to give that back, and I can't think of a more rewarding way of doing it than, you know, being in a scenario like this. So that's pretty awesome.
Going back to our previous conversation, Justin Dawson says, I've never had someone serenade me, but I had someone get great results and then told me Jesus said not to continue the products.
Huh.
There you go. Good conversation with Jesus. So now I'm going to pivot back to a profound moment in your career that was on the sales side of things that lives with you. Not an experience with a client that you've trained, but somebody who, you know, maybe a customer that you've had over the years.
Yeah. So I think the one that sticks with me the most is we had an opportunity to work with a commercial business that had two of their rooftop ACs go out. And as we started walking down the path of helping them and pricing to them, we learned pretty quickly that they were in a financial bind with a medical issue with one of their children. And very proud to say that we were able to get them 2 new rooftop units, work with our manufacturers, get them 2 new rooftop units, and didn't charge them a penny. We did not do it for the marketing. We didn't do it. We did it because it was the right thing to do. And I think to this day, I will tell you this, I never paid for bait again in my life. There were a bait and tackle shop in Charleston, South Carolina. Never paid for bait again anytime I walked in there. But, you know, yes, they were friends of our, you know, one of the people that worked at a high level at the company. We didn't do it for that reason. We did it because it was the right thing to do. And that came back to us so many times. That story, the local newspaper picked it up. We did not promote it. We didn't do it for the promotion. It got picked up. They talked highly about us. They were probably one of the highest referral people for us for a very long time.
Isn't it amazing that, by the way, I would say out of like all the podcast episodes I've recorded, probably 10 of them, when I asked that question, had some semblance of this type of story, where it was a giveaway of a system to a situation that was, you know, painful. Somebody was in a painful situation and you alleviated that pain. I find that to be remarkable that we get. This is why I think most people are good. I do. I think there's people that are like glass half full people, some people are glass half empty people. And I think some people are always looking at people like they're skeptical and paranoid about other people and whatnot. But like at the end of the day, I think most people are actually good. And they're not, anyway, I mean, my interaction has been, you know, people are most satisfied and most profoundly affected by situations where they were able to give something. They were able to give something. And that goes, I think, a long way. Let me ask you this: as a business owner, manager, what was the toughest termination you ever had to make? Toughest fire?
Wow. Toughest termination was, it's actually a sad situation. So we had a gentleman who was in a bad way financially, and unfortunately he had to he came in and made some poor decisions with some alcohol abuse and some addiction made some poor decisions and showed up to work in not a state of mind where we wanted him to go out and see customers or what have you. And I can remember talking to him about his why and what drove him, and it was his family, so he says, and asking him was what he was doing good for his family. And man, this is probably not as exciting as people want, but it was incredibly moving to me. Once again, watching this man break down, and when he left, he came into work that day literally talking about wanting to shoot up the place because we weren't treating him right, and left hugging me and drove himself straight to a rehab. So
wow.
I don't know if that becomes the toughest separation I ever had, but to me that sticks with me because the guy had to go. No questions about it. I couldn't have him be in our customers' homes. But the fact of the matter is he needed help, and we were there to help him. And so that sticks with me. Now, if I go back to my staffing days, I've got some whack job stories about mostly revolving around bathroom incidents that allowed me to have to fire people.
What do you mean around bathroom incidents?
All right, I was hoping you were going to ask because I love this story. I had to let someone go for, you ever see those watering cans with the little spout, like, you use for watering plants, maybe around the home office or something like that?
Yeah.
Well, I guess for whatever reason, they wanted to create their own bidet. And so they would fill up the watering can and, do their business in the morning and then use the watering can as a homemade bidet. And apparently it wasn't as sanitary or clean as he thought it was. And I needed to walk into the building and literally let that person go for splashing shit on the floor.
What am I getting fired for? Well, let's see. You defecated and there's feces all over the floor.
Yep. Yeah.
You are the weakest link. Goodbye.
Yep. That is that. And I had to terminate someone who obviously had some issues, but would stuff Snickers in his mouth and drink coffee to the point where he had to puke, and then he would go home. Snickers and black coffee. Because he
wanted to go home.
Because he wanted to go home, and I think there was a little bit of he was a little off. Now, don't get me wrong. I placed that person. I probably should have picked up on some of the signs, but I was new in my recruiting career, so I didn't really pick up on it. Learned a lesson.
Wow. What was the worst hire? What was the worst hire you ever directly made? And how long did they last?
Oh boy. All right. I'll stay because I got a plethora of them. I got a huge number. Let's talk about just in the home services industry. Worst hire I made was a rehire. I thought that the person was going to quote unquote change, and for whatever reason, looked past every red flag that they threw at me, and that person lasted about 6 hours.
Oh, that was that long, huh?
Yep. It took them 6 hours to tell a customer, I'll come back on the weekend if you pay me $200 to top off your refrigeration.
Wow.
Which is the same reason why we got rid of them the first time.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's the shortest firing I've ever heard of. 6 hours.
Yeah.
How long did you work there? About 6 hours. So give or take.
Yeah, pretty sure that we didn't get back on his resume for a second time.
Yeah. Was it 7 hours? It was 6 hours. It was a good solid 6 hours.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I don't want that award of the shortest tenured hire. So maybe someone can beat me on that one.
Well, this has been a lot of fun. I can't believe it's almost an hour already. Let's do this. As we're going to wrap it up here. What's did he qualify for unemployment? Ron Bartle says, did he qualify for unemployment? He also said driving a German car, German quality, and a fisherman. I'm starting to like you.
Well, I like you too, Ron.
So, Kevin, I want you to, now is the time where you can plug anything you're working on, anything you're doing, any kind of things that you want to say. Go.
Awesome. So if you own a home services company and you are looking to grow your company, alleviate pain, alleviate stress, want to be a better leader, then give our growth advisors a call, because there has not been a situation that we have found that we can't figure out a solution or a fix for. So we're super excited to work with home service companies and, put them through our paces, our onboarding journey, and quite frankly, just getting them into our world so we can help them, whatever your goals are, some people want to sell, some people want to grow, some people just want to get more profitable. You tell us and we can help you get there.
That's good. Quick question. Do you have guys at Service World Expo right now?
We are not, no.
Oh, okay. Because I would run into Mike Disney all the time at Service World, or at the different. I used to be on the conference scene.
Yeah.
And this year I had to take a back seat, unfortunately.
We've got a big event coming next week, and we just came back from Pantheon, so we off. we need 1 week at home to do some work.
Pantheon's off the hook, man. Kevin, man, I really appreciate. Oh, how can people reach you, by the way, if they want to talk to you directly?
Yeah, 100%. So my email is kevin@ceowarrior.com. It's pretty simple. And that's probably the easiest way to get to me is kevin@ceowarrior.com.
Awesome. All right, I'm going to bring you off here real quick. I'll make some. I really appreciate you, Kevin.
Hey, man, thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. Just quick announcement, guys. Right before, so the audio episode. Anyway, for those that didn't catch the episode with Tommy Mello, the audio drops this week, in the next couple of days, and then I did interview with Ken Goodrich yesterday, and that will actually air it's not going to be live. I said this in the beginning, but for those that didn't hear anyway, it won't be live. It'll just get dropped. Enjoy it. I thought it was an incredible conversation. So really enjoy you guys. This chat was great tonight, and see you soon.